Modern quantum physics is just beginning to confirm what was common knowledge to ancient alchemists, that we exist in an ocean of energy that they called ether, and that this ether permeating our world also reaches out even unto the stars. As well, the ancient alchemists fully understood that this etheric realm was vastly inhabited, and at least some of these entities, assumed by modern materialistic society to be remote extraterrestrials, are really non-physical spirit entities no more distant than our own living rooms. Of course, over the centuries, this knowledge of the etheric has been systematically removed from the general population and preserved in occult teachings for only the worthy high initiates of powerful secret societies. Actually, ancient shamanic adepts were skilled in communicating with the denizens of unseen worlds centuries before radio telescopes were even thought of. In fact, the rise of the so-called Age of Enlightenment and the advent of scientific thought may have been a clever alchemical deceit designed to inspire obsessive materialism, thus distracting the mass public mind away from higher esoteric spiritual knowledge. Knowledge jealously guarded for only the loftiest occult initiates. Truth is not for those who are unworthy or unable to receive it, or would pervert it. The truth must be kept secret, and the masses need a teaching proportioned to their imperfect reason. As such, perhaps the popular notion of alien abductions, heavily promoted by UFO research groups like MUFON, as well as the mass media, is also a deception proportioned for the imperfect reason of the unsuspecting public. Rational reductionist science for the last century has generally convinced modern culture that our five-sense 3D reality is all that exists, that life after death, telepathy, astrology, angels and demons are all so much medieval nonsense. Therefore, claims of alien abduction can only be evidence of some psychological aberration within the minds of the victims themselves. However, the amount of evidence amassed after years of abduction research clearly demonstrates that someone or something from outside our accepted physical reality is able to access and manipulate our physical reality in ways curiously similar to age-old accounts of demonological encounters. Were demons actually aliens, or are aliens actually demons? Demons are manifestly evil entities commonly understood to exist in a structured etheric hierarchy parallel to human physical reality. As such, they are said to be the subliminal architects of all human aggression, suffering, and misery. Demonic entities are known for their predatory cunning and deceptive machinations in human affairs. However, demons themselves may be the result of human creation. Fundamentally, humans are thought-creating beings living in a thought universe. We create everything in our world out of thought. The more human beings focus their awareness on something specific, the more certain it will actually manifest. Over time, however, this awareness became so profoundly identified with this illusory world of material creation that it lost sentient connection with its original parent oneness. Yet its ability to manifest focused thought was no less potent. Ancient Egyptian and Babylonian magicians understood the power of collective thought and how it could be used to manifest thought-form entities. Given enough energy, such entities could become real, acting autonomously as if possessing a life of their own. And shamanic traditions in different parts of the world speak of such magical shape-shifting entities in their own way. What Tibetan mystics called tulpas were not unlike the jinn, demonic entities of Muslim lore that manifested out of smoke. The succubi and incubi of the Middle Ages were virtually identical to predatory etheric entities discovered by early Christian Gnostics as well. Since antiquity, these egregore, or thought-form entities, have grown ever stronger and all-knowing. Occult sorcerers, through ceremonial magic, sought to control these entities in order to gain rare knowledge and supernatural powers. To perpetuate their very existence, these parasitic egregore entities require the sustaining energy of human awareness. Understanding the power of collective thought, these black magic practitioners knew how human awareness could be contained and programmed like computer software. So to gratify their own ambitions, they struck a reciprocal bargain with the egregore to hold human awareness locked in a perpetual cycle of fear and struggle. In exchange for power and domination, these sorcerers literally offered up the entire human race as a blood exchange, giving these demonic, hyperdimensional thought forms virtual immortality. In other words, the awesome power of collective human emotions can be harnessed to precipitate manifestations of benevolent angels, wicked demons, or even aliens from space. As well, the ancient traditions of accessing assistance from such powerful etheric entities are preserved and practiced by modern secret societies to this day. Satanists, the Dark Illuminati, the Black Magic Masters are able to conjure these denizens from hyperdimensional space to do their bidding. The modern fascination with UFOs began in June of 1947, when private pilot Kenneth Arnold claimed seeing 9 unknown, shiny objects flying near Mount Rainier, Washington. The press sensationalized his report by labeling the objects as flying saucers, and to this day, mysterious flying objects are consistently reported worldwide. And although these objects have become generally accepted as visitors from outer space, only a handful of researchers have dared to offer a deeper, darker explanation for this phenomenon. While the main thrust of UFO research has been preoccupied with crashed saucers, alien bodies, back-engineered anti-gravity technologies, and secret Nazi flying discs, a significant mystical aspect to ufology has been virtually ignored. But 1947 was also significant as the year of notorious British Satanist Aleister Crowley's death. Little mention is made in UFO research to a ritual magic ceremony performed in New York in 1918, whereby Crowley allegedly opened a dimensional portal to alien entities. Styled as the Alamantra workings, Crowley's ritual accessed an etheric entity called Lamb, whose image bore a striking resemblance to alien entities that 70 years later would become popularly known as the Greys. Moreover, in the years just prior to his death, Aleister Crowley served as mentor to noted American rocket scientist Jack Parsons in Pasadena, California. Parsons founded the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, which, in association with NASA, was instrumental in the manned Apollo rocket launches during the 1960s. But aside from rocket design, Parsons was also Grand Master of Crowley's Ordo Templi Orientis, Satanic Lodge in Pasadena. As well, Parsons and Scientology founder L. Ron Hubbard in 1945 also conducted ritual sex magic workings deliberately intended to invoke the Antichrist. In June 1952, Jack Parsons died in a mysterious explosion at his Pasadena home, and just 1 month later, Washington, D.C. was besieged with a flight of UFOs. An innocuous coincidence? Perhaps. But there is nothing innocuous in the disturbing similarity between alien abductions and occult satanic initiation rituals. This series of special projects conducted in the California desert in 1945 and 1946 by Parsons and Hubbard was for the express purpose of opening an interdimensional gateway that had been sealed since antiquity. This would allow other dimensional entities called the Old Ones access to our time-space continuum, resulting in extra-dimensional contact. It was the use of black magic and the marriage of unknown forces to allegedly bring alien drones into the world, organic robots who, in the image of nature, would follow the adept's every command. Noted French researcher and author of Messengers of Deception, Dr. Jacques Vallée stated, "The symbolic display seen by the abductees is identical to the type of initiation ritual or astral voyage that is embedded in the occult traditions of every culture. The structure of abduction stories is identical to that of occult initiation rituals. The UFO beings of today belong to the same class of manifestation as the occult entities that were described in centuries past. The UFOs are physical manifestations that cannot be understood apart from their psychic and symbolic reality. What we see in effect here is a control system which acts on humans and uses humans."
I think what the UFO phenomenon is teaching us is that we don't understand time and space. Here are objects, I think we have to call them objects, that are physical, that interact with the environment, that cause effects on the witnesses, on the psychology and the physiology of the witnesses, and leave traces on the ground, and yet are capable of, appear to be capable of manipulating time and space in ways that go beyond what our physics understands. And then there is a third level, which is where the level I was addressing in Messengers of Deception, which is a social level.
The impact on our culture.
Yes, and the impact on our belief systems. And at that level, and that's something that's very difficult to convey to the believers in UFOs, the believers in little green men from space, you know, that at that level it really doesn't matter whether UFOs are real or not. If enough people believe that something is real, then it is real in its effects.
In terms of its social reality.
In terms of the social reality, in terms of what people act according to their beliefs.
Yeah.
And that opens a question of, really at two levels, could the UFO phenomenon be manipulating us? Could it be a teaching system of some sort? Perhaps something that we are creating ourselves, perhaps a series of images that we are projecting. I think Carl Jung came very close to expressing that idea in one of his books. Or could it be manipulated purposely by people who have the technology to simulate UFO sighting?
Our contemporary materialistic culture now possesses a dangerously inadequate understanding of the occult, or the complex realities of non-physical intelligences. William C. Chittick, author of The Sufi Path of Knowledge, warns of the naive dangers of New Age idealism. Nowadays, most people interested in the spirituality of the East desire the experience, though they may call what they are after intimate communion with God. Those familiar with the standard norms of spiritual experience set down by disciplined paths like Sufism are usually appalled by the way Westerners seize upon any apparition from the domain outside of normal consciousness as a manifestation of the spiritual. In fact, there are innumerable realms in the unseen world, some of them far more dangerous than the worst jungles of the visible world. This general ignorance of non-physical realities easily serves dark magic practitioners who manipulate and deceive to serve their own purposes, or practitioners who themselves are manipulated by etheric entities that wish to access our physical reality.
basically filling the sky with UFOs and watching everybody's excitement. And some of the most outstanding sightings were in the early 70s in Ohio. And she used to laugh about it because she'd be standing in a circle out in the field somewhere calling up demons. And that's all they were angels of light playing games in the sky. Remember, a demon, get the little spooky picture. There are a fallen angel, an unclean spirit. They can assume any form or go into anything. But they can assume forms including spacemen or solid objects like flying saucers or so on. That's why when they appear on the radar scope and a jet gets up there, they vanish right in front of the palace eye because they're nothing but a spirit.
A general consensus seems to agree that UFOs are craft that possess the ability to appear as physical objects that simultaneously manipulate time and space so as to become invisible or perform maneuvers that defy our current understanding of physics and nature. But the darker side of this phenomena is the abduction scenario, reported by millions of people all over the world, regardless of time, race, culture, and upbringing. The late Dr. John Mack, Harvard Medical School professor, psychiatrist, and author, also investigated the abduction phenomenon for several decades and came to conclusions similar to Dr. Jacques Vallée. His contributions to the study of ufology and alien abductions is greatly respected. In an interview with Nova Online, when asked if the phenomena was literally physical or psychological, Dr. Mack stated that yes, it's both literally physically happening to a degree, and it's also some kind of psychological, spiritual experience occurring and originating perhaps in another dimension. And so the phenomenon stretches us, or it asks us to stretch to open to realities that are not simply the literal physical world, but to extend to the possibility that there are other unseen realities from which our consciousness, our, if you will, learning processes over the past several hundred years have closed us off.
This phenomenon, if we take it seriously, which is to say that hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of human beings in the United States and around the world are being approached or being visited by some kind of intelligence. People call them alien because they're afraid of it. Beings of several sorts, but one type most prominently, 3.5 to 4 feet tall, with huge eyes, black eyes, blue eyes, and bald, large heads, thin bodies, often with a very high energy field around them, and that this is very real. And it's not a product of any sort of mental illness. Now, that is completely incompatible with the Western worldview. Not only does it show that there are other intelligence at work here, but they can show us that they have technological powers, they have intelligence, they have capabilities that we can't even begin to approach.
Author Whitley Strieber, in his classic account of an alien encounter from his book Communion, records his experience with these entities by stating, "I became entirely given over to extreme dread. The fear was so powerful that it seemed to make my personality completely evaporate. Whitley ceased to exist. What was left was a body and a state of raw fear so great that it swept about me like a thick, suffocating curtain, turning paralysis into a condition that seemed close to death. I died and a wild animal appeared in my place." Then, in his subsequent book, Transformation, the Breakthrough, he delves deeper into the abduction experience, stating, "Increasingly I felt as if I were entering a struggle that might even be more than life and death. It might be a struggle for my soul, my essence, or whatever part of me might have reference to the eternal. There are worse things than death, I suspected. So far, the word demon had never been spoken among the scientists and doctors who were working with me. Alone at night, I worried about the legendary cunning of demons. At the very least, I was going stark raving mad. And within the pages of Transformation, he further observed, I felt an absolutely indescribable sense of menace. It was hell on earth to be there in the presence of these entities, and yet I couldn't move, couldn't cry out, couldn't get away. I'd lay as still as death, suffering inner agonies. Whatever was there seemed so monstrously ugly, so filthy and dark and sinister. Of course they were demons. They had to be. And they were here and I couldn't get away. According to many researchers in the field, and even the people who have directly experienced this phenomenon, all seem to agree that there is a spiritual element guiding this phenomenon. It is clear that there is a metaphysical nature to the UFOs and the alien abductions themselves. Furthermore, the startling similarities between this phenomena and the occult and other historical, mythological accounts of direct contact with demonic entities should be alarming. Dr. Rick Strassman, author of DMT, the Spirit Molecule, hypothesizes that alien abductions are brought on by the accidental release of DMT, dimethyltryptamine, produced by the pineal gland inside the brain. While conducting DMT research in the 1990s at the University of New Mexico, Dr. Strassman advanced the theory that a massive release of DMT from the pineal gland prior to death or near death was the cause of the near-death experience, NDE phenomenon. Several of his test subjects reported NDE-like audio or visual hallucinations, while others also reported contact with other beings, alien-like, insectoid or reptilian in nature, in highly advanced technological environments where the subjects were carried, probed, tested, manipulated, dismembered, taught, loved, and even raped by these beings. It's interesting to note how similar the accounts of his test subjects who were administered DMT intravenously are in comparison to what can be found in abduction research. DMT is certainly a mystery molecule that seems to open doorways into another world or reality. However, Strassman's theory that abduction experiences are brought on by the accidental release of DMT seems to be short-sighted when taking a closer look into the alien abduction scenario. Does DMT simply generate vivid hallucinations, or is it actually a chemical gateway for consciousness to access hyperdimensional realities? DMT research raises the question of the nature of consciousness as well as the nature of physical reality itself. Does our accepted three-dimensional reality actually interface with multiple hyperdimensional realities that our physical senses simply cannot perceive? Such a physiological limitation places the average human at a distinct disadvantage to unseen predatory dangers. But are there techniques one can employ for protection from menacing hyperdimensional alien denizens? In point of fact, certain abductees have successfully terminated their abduction experience by calling out to Jesus for assistance. This is important considering that certain higher spiritual forces also exist. As well, there is power in specific sounds. The name Jesus was created by the Greeks to have high vibrational energy. The vibrational tone of E in all languages means to separate, and Sus, or Zeus, means to bring together. As well, abductees have reported that anger or getting upset at the entities does actually help. Also, by educating themselves and learning more about the abduction and UFO phenomenon, they can create an awareness which seems to offer protection. As the saying goes, knowledge protects, ignorance endangers. One of the primary themes of alien abduction accounts has been the harvesting of human genetic material. Aliens have been consistently reported abducting American citizens on a regular basis, conducting experiments on them, collecting specimens of ova and sperm. They have been impregnating women and then later invading those women's bodies again and stealing the unborn fetuses. A respected researcher and abductee herself has been Dr. Carla Turner. She authored 3 books on the abduction phenomenon: Into the Fringe, Taken, and Masquerade of Angels. Dr. Carla Turner died of a strange, fast-acting cancer in 1996 after being threatened for her work. She was only 48 years old. According to her research, Dr. Turner believed that humans were being used as a resource by these aliens in many ways.
To me, maybe I'm just a suspicious sort, this implies that there's something they don't want us to know about. And often what seems implied from the reports is that there is something within us, the humans, something of which we could be capable, something of resistance or altering of this scenario that the abductors absolutely do not want us to be aware of. They go to great lengths to program our thinking about our encounters with them, that we are subordinate, that we are helpless, or that we are dependent, or that we belong to them. The list goes on. And they go to a great deal of trouble to convince us in every way that they can that we can do nothing about controlling these situations. The good news is that in a number of cases in the past couple of years, that hasn't proven to be true. Abductees are finding more and more specific instances in which they are able to resist the illusion suggestions, in which they are able to say no to procedures, and in fact when they have been able to break free of actual controls. This to me is a great step forward, and I think it's going to be something growing with any luck. We're going to find abductees are realizing there are ways to change this entire pattern of activity.
However, the gray aliens seem to be merely biogenetic robots performing programmed tasks and were not of themselves a race of their own. In fact, Dr. Carla Turner's courageous investigations into the alien abduction phenomena may have also uncovered a monstrous truth, that the so-called gray aliens are not really alien at all, but hideously altered human automatons, and that a top-secret terrestrial project is harvesting human fetal material to manufacture organic robot clones. She stated, "Some abductees report being told or shown the small gray workers are mass-produced android robots, not soul-bearing individuals, and thus not alive as we understand the term. The Greys show a strong fetal physiology, as numerous descriptions have stated, and given enough mastery of genetics, human reproductive material could be altered so that its appearance resembled the Grey type, yet be strictly human in composition rather than a mixture of alien and human. The Greys, in effect, could be grossly altered bodies of human babies devoid of what we call soul and mentally programmed like dedicated computer hardware." Even Colonel Philip Corso, author of the book The Day After Roswell, admitted that the recovered bodies from the Roswell UFO crash were biological robots. He stated,
"So when I started putting all this on the extraterrestrial together, we finally gave it a name. I told them, it looks like, these are clones. And so the name came out, extraterrestrial biological entity. That's what we figured they were. We couldn't describe it. We never used the letters ET. There was no such thing.
You said that they look like clones.
They were clones. Not look like clones. They were clones. We figured that they were created by some other intellect.
The logo of the X-Files is "The truth is out there." The truth is out there. I'm going to paraphrase. The truth is in here.
We are here today to disclose the truth about a subject that has been ridiculed and questioned, denied for at least 50 years. The men and women who are on this stage and the some 350 additional military intelligence witnesses to the so-called UFO matter and extraterrestrial intelligence can prove and will prove that we are not alone.
Dr. Stephen Greer has gained high-profile notoriety by organizing the Disclosure Initiative to raise public awareness of the UFO issue. Yet while Greer publicly lobbies to convince us that all extraterrestrial aliens are benevolent, enlightened beings here to spiritually advance corrupt humanity, he publicly admitted knowledge of top-secret government projects whereby demonic astral entities can be materialized into our 3D reality using sophisticated electromagnetic technologies. In a Project Camelot interview with Dr. Greer in July of 2009, he stated,
So I have had access to people within classified projects for a lot of my life. And for example, and I know that we're going to probably disagree on this because I saw what you wrote on your blog after my talk last night. There are people who have been exposed to what they wanted them to see. This Bob Lazar was one that they then allow to speak out. Now the question is, what's the agenda behind that allowing? I have had more than a dozen people who have worked in facilities in Dulce and in Pine Gap in Australia, and other places where they have actually been growing the gray and reptilian species that people think are ETs. And that the people who've been in the projects think they're working alongside an alien. And they're not. They're absolutely what are called nanobiomachines. And they are programmed life forms. And there is no question that that is going on. And so the larger question becomes, if someone comes up to you with just an empirical observation, what is it they're seeing? Now I'm going to cross over into something even more controversial. We have some people at Lockheed and another program, I can't say where it is, but it's in the South, in an underground facility, and the chief scientist is someone I know very well. And they have developed electromagnetic systems where they can put someone into a state and they can go into, and this gets into a cosmological complex discussion now, a lower astral or denser astral field. And some would call this demonic. And they can actually see beings and creatures there and bring them in three-dimensional and materialize in flesh and blood.
Former FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover stated, "The individual is handicapped by coming face to face with a conspiracy so monstrous he cannot believe it exists. The American mind has simply not come to a realization of the evil which has been introduced into our midst. Demons don't just happen, they are deliberately invoked." In 1939, astrologer Wilhelm Wolff described a secret research program within Adolf Hitler's Third Reich with ambitions to combine sophisticated, high-tech military science with occult black magic, to harness not only natural but supernatural forces, all intellectual, natural, and supernatural sources of power, from modern technology to medieval black magic, and from the teachings of Pythagoras to the Faustian pentagram incantation, were to be exploited for the interests of final victory. Do we dare consider that even today, world leaders at the highest levels of power are a fraternity of occult practitioners who deliberately engage demonic forces to ravage the unsuspecting mass of humanity, as well as the earth itself, in return for vast political power, wealth, and prestige? A blood covenant that dooms humanity to wholesale death and enslavement. There are cosmic rules of play that require humans en masse must give consent to their corrupt, oligarchical rulers in order for these demonic hyperdimensional entities to work with such rulers to advance their evil anti-human agenda. If true, this means that if humans withdraw consent en masse, these demonic entities cannot continue to advance their hideous agenda. Unfortunately, ignorance of this unholy agenda allows consent by default. The Holy Bible bluntly states, "Our contest is not against flesh and blood, but against powers and principalities, against the world rulers of this present darkness, against spiritual forces of evil who live in heavenly places." Charles Taze Russell, founder of Jehovah's Witness, prophesied that on October 2nd, 1914, the beginning of the end of humanity would commence with the emergence of the Antichrist, as foretold by the Book of Revelation. Jack Parsons was born on that prophetic day. Returning now to the story of famed rocket scientist Jack Parsons, it seems that he was himself involved in a demonic ritual to create a programmed life form. Parsons had a sex magic partner in the Ordo Templi Orientis Lodge named Marjorie Cameron. While staying with a friend in Hollywood, Marjorie confessed that she had been part of the Babylon working ritual. She said that it had been devised by Jack Parsons, L. Ron Hubbard, Aleister Crowley, and Manhattan Project scientists based at the Los Alamos Atomic Bomb Research Unit, headed by Jewish scientist Robert Oppenheimer. Marjorie confessed that during the Babylon working ritual, assisted by L. Ron Hubbard, Jack Parsons had sexually impregnated her at the point when the spirit of the Antichrist was bestowed upon him. Cameron Parsons had been made pregnant with the child of the Antichrist. On a 40-day pilgrimage in the Mojave Desert, the place where Area 51 now resides, Parsons summoned forth Babylon, the Scarlet Woman, the whore of the apocalypse, the consort of the great beast Satan. According to Hubbard, during the ritual he saw Parsons rip a hole in space-time and something flew in. Author and inventor of the new cult religion Scientology, Mr. L. Ron Hubbard, former initiate of Aleister Crowley's Ordo Templi Orientis, wrote a so-called sacred text called Dianetics, which now has an inspired following of evangelical millionaires in Hollywood, just as the Kabbalah training schools are now full of people who have their interest in these Judaic magical techniques inspired by Britney Spears and Madonna. This giant Babylon working ritual saw Parsons, aided by his magical protege, L. Ron Hubbard, project their astral bodies into the dark abyss of Lucifer. 1948 saw George Bush Sr. baptized in the name of the demonic spirit Magog. That same year, Jack Parsons baptized himself as Balerion, Armilus, Al-Dajjal, the Antichrist. Parsons' twisted intent was to breed what the Kabbalah calls a golem. A golem is an artificially created humanoid, usually made from dead human body parts, which is animated by the magician chanting incantations and mantras. These magical voice sounds are what Kabbalists call twilight language. Isaac Bashevis Singer, winner of the Nobel Prize for Literature, once wrote, "The Kabbalah teaches that dead matter is not really dead, but can be brought to life, as a golem, by chanting mantras. We are living in an epic of golem making right now, the rise of artificial intelligence." Jack Parsons told his former master that the fetus of the golem was later extracted from the womb of Marjorie Cameron Parsons by government agents who delivered it to a special team at the Manhattan Project atomic bomb facility. Creation of the Philosopher's Stone, to master alchemy at its highest level by changing one element into another, was accomplished by the Manhattan Project scientists who changed uranium into plutonium, one of the highest secrets of alchemy. And where did the alchemical masters of the S1 Committee of the Manhattan Project meet? They brought their occult science talents together in the chalet at Bohemian Grove. While men wearing owl masks and black robes listened to the manic laughter of Satan, it was at Bohemian Grove where the consummation of thousands of years of alchemical atomic research took place, nothing less than the birth of the bomb. The power of the atom was harnessed by the United States Army's Manhattan Project during the war, and on July 16, 1945, in an act of wanton technological sorcery, that power was unleashed with the Trinity atomic bomb test in New Mexico. A group of American scientists led by Dr. J. Robert Oppenheimer gathered in a remote area of New Mexico at the 33rd parallel known as Jornada del Muerto, or Journey of Death. There at 5:29 a.m. on July 16, 1945, the military detonated the first ever atomic bomb. American author Michael Hoffman, in his book Secret Societies and Psychological Warfare, speculates that Marjorie Cameron's golem fetus may have been placed inside a giant 25-foot long, 12-foot in diameter canister. This mysterious canister was nicknamed Jumbo. It was made of solid lead and cement. It is conceivable that the fetus was placed in the center of this canister and irradiated with the blast of the world's first atomic bomb, thus infusing the demon child with what Kabbalists called the demonic force of atomic fire. 2 years later, Jack Parsons revealed to his mother that his golem child had lived, and that it was female. A fan of ancient Hindu mantras was the Jewish Kabbalist genius J. Robert Oppenheimer. His team of Manhattan Project scientists took advanced alchemy to its absolute evil limits, and appropriately upon detonation of the Trinity device, Dr. Oppenheimer, the bomb's designer, uttered the occult Vedic invocation, "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds." Oppenheimer and his group of scientists called the first atomic bomb Trinity, but was this in reference to the Christian Trinity, or was it in reference to the great beast, the Scarlet Woman, and the Antichrist? Had Aleister Crowley's Aeon of Thelema come to fruition? Thelema is the Greek word for willpower. As Crowley predicted, it appears we are in the age of Thelema, where the whole of humanity is now at the mercy of the demons his black magic has unleashed. But Crowley's magic is not omnipotent. Humans are fully capable of engaging their own willpower to stop this abomination. More than mindless cattle, only capable of reacting and responding, we have forgotten that we are creatures of intention, of creation. If we can remember that, wake that up in ourselves, we have a chance. There is an invisible realm of real but unseen discarnate personalities. It is in these invisible realms that the elite seek their power. They commune with a populace of entities, many of which are malevolent and responsible for the pollution, wars, pestilence, and destruction on planet Earth. It is perhaps mankind's greatest challenge to stop Freemasons and black magicians from accessing these spirits of dark worship. We all have a role to play in the banishment of the satanic elite. You are either part of the problem or part of the solution.